Hello, everybody. It is the Doctor, and it is time for another news update for Star Trek Online Delta Rising expansion, coming in no less than 11 days. That's right, we are now 11 days from the launch of Delta Rising. It is October 3rd, and Delta Rising launches October 14th. We are in the same month that it releases. It is only a little more than a week away. Wow, 11 days. I'm excited. There's apparently a lot coming to the game with this expansion, and I'm looking forward to a lot of the additions. So once again, let's go over all the news from this past week that has been released for Delta Rising, and let's see what other new things are going to be coming. As usual, I'm reading all of these news posts, blog updates blind as well. I've not read these yet, so this is my first impression as well. So let's start with the intelligence briefing, and I will zoom in so you can read these. There are two new aliens here that are being described to us today, and it looks like we still have room for another slot of a couple more aliens coming. So a lot of new alien species for the Delta Quadrant coming in Delta Rising here. And these I don't really recognize offhand, so let's see what these are all about. Let me zoom in for you. There you go. I don't recognize this alien. Oh, the Kobali. Okay, well now I do. I didn't recognize it from just the face, but obviously the Kobali, I do remember that species in Star Trek Online, in Star Trek Voyager. That was a Harry Kim episode, I believe. He was, I guess, becoming a Kobali or something. Anyway, a humanoid species from the Delta Quadrant. The most unique thing about the Kobali is their method of reproduction. Unable to have children through sexual or asexual reproduction, the Kobali instead recover corpses from other species and then infect those bodies with a genetic virus. This alters the DNA of the body, causing it to reanimate as a new Kobali. After this process is complete, only trace amounts of the host's original DNA remain. The Kobali call this process rebirth. There are, of course, some correlations between rebirth and the Borg process of assimilation. Both groups have the knowledge needed to revive the dead, but while the Borg will target the unwilling and subsume their consciousness into the collective, the Kobali are far more benevolent, and new Kobali retain their individuality. And yeah, I do remember this episode now. It was definitely a Harry Kim episode. He became a Kobali. I recommend watching that episode. A newly risen Kobali will then be assigned to a family group who are responsible for helping him or her acclimate to life as a Kobali. New Kobali will spend up to 2 years with this group learning the Kobali language and culture, and the adoptive family treats their new child with as much love and compassion as we see in other cultures with more typical forms of reproduction. While fragmented memories of their former existence may remain, the Kobali encourage new members of their species to forget their past life, or kinsteia in a few cases. Kobali retain so much of their old memories that accepting their life as a Kobali can be difficult. If this happens, it's the responsibility of the new Kobali's family to help them or to seek them out if a new Kobali leaves the homeworld to try to resume their former life. It's unclear as to exactly why the Kobali used this form of reproduction. Federation exobiologists speculate that it must have developed sometime after the Kobali developed as a species, possibly as a result of some sort of biological event that rendered them infertile. However, the details of what such an event could be are unclear, and without cooperation from the Kobali, we may never completely understand the phenomenon. The Kobali are warp-capable, and for much of their history roam the stars in nomadic groups of ships searching for bodies to use in their rebirth rituals. This has brought them into conflict multiple times with other cultures that see rebirth as a desecration of their burial practices. For their part, the Kobali are a peaceful people, choosing to retreat rather than fight in most instances. Sometimes in the past century, however, the Kobali chose to settle on a new homeworld. Their culture has developed rapidly since their arrival on Kobali Prime, and as the population has expanded, they have created cities and new forms of culture. From what I understand, Kobali Prime is quite lovely and a pleasant planet. We believe that Kobali technology is roughly equivalent to the Federation, although in some areas they may have knowledge that we lack. The creation of the genetic pathogen used for rebirth is exceptionally advanced, and may indicate that the Kobali have put much of their effort into advancing their knowledge of medicine and genetic engineering. One thing of note for captains visiting Kobali Prime is their food is very different from what most of us consider palatable. Their main form of substance is a gray nutritional paste, and foods that will be quite pleasant for us will be distasteful to Kobali. When interacting with them in social and diplomatic situations, please be sure to keep this in mind. More than one delicate diplomatic situation has been made worse by a bad meal. So watch Ashes to Ashes to learn more about the Kobali. That's the episode. Alright, so we learned about this, of course, in Voyager. An interesting species in the way that they reproduce using other species' dead bodies. The Kobali are really just made up of thousands of other species of alien genetically changed into this Kobali form, or assimilated as the assimile to the Borg process there. So very interesting species and how they're made up. Yeah, very, very interesting there. Alright, so they will definitely be in the game. What else do we have? Who's next? Who are you? Kobali. I guess that's it. That's weird. Maybe they're missing a link there or something. Shows 2 aliens, but then I don't have access to it. Let's see, I got Kobali. Yeah. Okay, it's just like, I guess, the male and female form of the Kobali, so it's just one alien there. Okay. So we still have room for another alien species to show up here. Wonder what it will be. Can't wait to see. And I guess that'll be the last one, so here's all the aliens coming to Delta Rising. Very exciting. Stories of the Delta Quadrant. Delta Rising has been a long time coming to Star Trek Online. Players who have been following the game could probably expect where the story was headed. Delta Rising will now take players to the Delta Quadrant and prepare them for what may lie ahead in the years to come. Some of you have asked what the story process is for Star Trek Online. Like all the stories in Star Trek Online, we start with the Star Trek IP. The leads with our writer, Christine Thompson, began working on an update by creating a very broad outline. This plan includes where we have been and a review of what we have told the players so far. Next, we look at where we want the storyline to eventually go. What are the main story beats and what we want to hit in an update. Where do we ultimately want to go? A whiteboard brainstorm might look something like this. Where have we been? The Undine have been infiltrating the Alpha Quadrant. In the midst of the Romulans rebuilding their world, they found an Iconian gateway on New Romulus. We encountered Worf, the Solanese Dyson Sphere, and the Alachi. We then met up with a Voth, leading us to the edge of the Delta Quadrant. Suddenly, we faced off against the Undine invasion. Tuvok, along with an alliance of the Federation and Klingon, joined forces to stop them. However, this earned the attention of the Iconians. Where did we want to go? We wanted to go to the Delta Quadrant. We could see the Voyager crew reunite, meeting up with old friends and enemies. We could tell stories about the Voyager crew and what happened in the Delta Quadrant since Voyager returned home. What effect did Voyager have on the Delta Quadrant? What menace has surfaced in the wake of Delta Rising? We know we want to raise the level cap to empower players to face this foe. However, what surprises will captains find along the way? Most importantly, how will this end and what do we want to do next? For Delta Rising, we took a long good look at Voyager. We all watched and rewatched as much of the show as we could, focusing on key episodes. That brought up more questions. What species did we want to include? What ones did we not want to include and perhaps save for later? What can we do? What makes an interesting enemy or ally? What interesting stories were left untold? What can art and design pull off? What makes sense for our game? At this point in the story planning, we start thinking about the Trek actors. Who do we want for this update? Who can we get? Who makes sense considering it's 32 years later? What stories are personal to those characters that translate well into Star Trek Online? After that, we make an outline, a map from A to Z. For Delta Rising, this gave us the idea of the story we want to tell. But now we have to fit that story into a production schedule as well as a game cadence. We have to determine how many missions we need to tell the story. How many do we want? Do we want adventures or battle zones, ground or space? What about patrols, queues, and STFs? Does our story work for the type of content we need to create? If not, what do we need to change? Next, we need to take other scheduling considerations into account. We all want every Delta Quadrant species, but art and design can't make them all. Which ones do we need? Which ones should we invest more in? And which ones do we cut and save for a future update? So we rinse and repeat with this many times, many brainstorm meetings over several weeks until we have a plan. X alien critters, Y story missions, Z zone, etc. We break up the story beats into the different types of content. We can tell this in a patrol. This makes good backstory for a queue. These are great small patrol missions, and these are our key mission story points. And we plan the flow from one beat to the next. This helps start a solid story plan. Once we have an outline of the content, each content designer and environment artist gets an assignment. They are given the key story moments they need to tell, and we outline the lead in and how it needs to end. Each designer and environment artist works with Christine to plan his or her piece of content, how it plays, how the story unfolds, who the characters are, and where we will use the cutscenes. Around this stage, the individual designers and artists begin work on actually creating the missions and the maps. There are lots of checkpoints and an approval process along the way, but at this point, it's up to the team to deliver the actual experience. As the whole thing comes together, cutscenes are blocked out, dialogue is written, and scripts are finalized. Finally, the last thing to come online is the voiceover work. When it is recorded, it's time to finalize the cutscenes and contact dialogues. Then we hold our breath and send it out into the world for you to enjoy. So there you go. That's a little outline there on how the stories come together in Star Trek Online. Makes a lot of sense. The Doctor returns. Of course, we knew he was coming. He had to, right? He was a big part of Voyager, and a big part of what made Voyager a success. I believe without the Doctor, specifically played by Robert Picardo here, that Voyager would not have been as good as it was. I think the Doctor really held the show together a lot. The Doctor is one of the characters that had the greatest amount of change in his character arc on Star Trek Voyager. A holo program designed in the early 2370s as a tool for Federation starships, the EMH was designed to provide short-term assistance during emergencies. Although the EMH had the skills needed to replace a starship's medical officer, it was never intended that it would do so, until Voyager. With the death of Voyager's chief medical officer, the ship's EMH was pressed into full-time service. The Doctor had to greatly expand his programming to meet the demands of a running sickbay on a ship lost in the Delta Quadrant, and Voyager's crew helped him overcome other shortcomings in his original design. And after, of course, 7 years of almost continual operation, the Doctor developed a personality, found hobbies he enjoyed, established relationships with the crew, and explored what it meant to be sentient. He was compassionate and driven and up to any challenge, becoming a respected member of the crew. Upon Voyager's return to Earth, however, he found himself in a struggle for self-determination. The other EMH Mark I programs had been declared to be defective, and while it was acknowledged that the Doctor was unique, he was still the property of Starfleet. When he was ordered to surrender his mobile emitter for study, the Doctor sued to keep the technology that gave him freedom of movement. After a lengthy legal battle, during which the Doctor and his legal team took inspiration from Commander Data's fight to establish his sentience, the court determined the Doctor was indeed sentient and allowed to keep his mobile emitter and given rank in Starfleet in his own right. Oh, so there's some good background on what happened to the Doctor after he came back. Good to know that he got to keep his mobile emitter, which is a piece of 29th century technology, but allows him to basically be projected anywhere and be mobile. I guess it powers him as well. Since then, the Doctor has served as a lead on several research projects, including assisting a team trying to duplicate the 29th century technology of his mobile emitter. But while these projects are intellectually stimulating and give him plenty of time to pursue his other interests, they didn't have the excitement of life as the ship's chief medical officer. The advent of Operation Delta Rising is sending an entire fleet of ships back to Delta Quadrant, and the Doctor is resuming his old post as Voyager's CMO. Now, I find this interesting. They're trying to, back-engineer this 29th century technology of the mobile emitter. Where is the 29th century time police? I mean, we know that they're, actively looking at the timeline for any incursions or whatever, And here is 25th century Starfleet trying to back engineer 29th century technology that would propel Starfleet forward more than it should be, potentially. So where are the time police? I like how they always get away with that stuff. They brought in, I mean, if they're gonna bring in those Starfleet time people from the 29th and even 31st century. There was Daniels in Enterprise. He was even farther in the future of 31st century. If they're going to bring in these people, these time cops, they got to follow through with that or not. I don't know. It's kind of weird. There's an entire quadrant out there to explore, and every day offers a new challenge. The Doctor is one of the most memorable characters on Voyager. He is known for his distinctive analytical approach to everything he does. It is often the case that even in the best of circumstances, he gives off his iconic face of concern. While other characters may be eager to quick action, the Doctor will often be the one person who considers all the possibilities of a situation. So in keeping with the idea of being very analytical, we gave the Doctor his iconic concerned look. We believe he looks and sounds just like he does in Voyager TV show. He even has the mobile emitter that allows him to leave the confines of a starship so that he can freely roam anywhere. We believe his level-headed approach to even the most critical situations will help the players as they progress through the new content to stow. I wonder, though, if they're going to bring in the emergency command hologram, though, because that was a later thing that happened. And it'd be interesting to see the Doctor go into emergency command hologram mode. Okay, Delta Rising Operations Pack giveaway. The crew at Star Trek Online is thrilled to begin the countdown to our next expansion. Yes, we know, October 14th. Enter now from today, October 1st, until 10 a.m. Pacific, Monday morning, October 13th, for your chance to win an Operations Pack. Ooh, good, because I don't want to pay for one. So maybe I'll enter here. You can enter across our social media hubs for multiple chances to win. This pack comes filled with new exciting gear, blah, blah, blah. Click here for a full description of the contents. We know all of that already. How to enter. Visit any of our social media hubs listed here and enter with the corresponding requirements to be included. All entries to each social hub will be compiled Monday, October 13th after 10 a.m. Pacific, and one winner for each hub will be selected at random. So you will be required to sign into each hub of your choice in order to enter. Stow forums, you can enter. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Steam, and YouTube. Well, I've only got a Stow forums account. I do have Twitter. I have Steam and YouTube. So I guess I won't be doing Instagram or Facebook. But if I can, I will sign up on the other ones. And I will do this because, as I've said in the past, I believe that they are charging just an exorbitant amount of money for the Delta Rising expansion pack. I think it's too much. I personally do not want to spend the money on it, even though I do want to show all of you these ships and everything that it's going to come with. I personally do not want to spend the money on the pack. It's very expensive, and I really don't have the money right now to do that. So I don't know how that's going to work out. I may just wait and purchase each ship individually as I go through and do it. I'm not quite sure yet. That may take a little time. I know I purchased the Romulan pack, but I was in a better situation to do that back then. Now, I really can't afford it, guys. I want it, but I can't afford it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sign up. Maybe I'll get lucky and win. Okay, what do we have here? A producer walkthrough video. In the latest trailer for Star Trek Online Delta Rising, Brad Stoken, art director for Star Trek Online, walks players through the new experiences coming in Star Trek Online. How many times can you say Star Trek Online in one sentence? The walkthrough highlights several aspects of the expansion, including new gameplay mechanics, Tier 6 ships, and a brand new adventure zone. So this is linking to a YouTube video. I'll put the link in the description, or you can go to Star Trek Online's webpage and click it and watch that video. I have not seen it yet myself, but I will watch it. And new intelligence uniforms. Here's an Andorian female wearing the new intelligence uniform. Greetings from the Delta Quadrant. Recently announced the addition of the Dauntless Experimental Class Science Vessel to the already amazing lineup in the Delta Quadrant Operations Pack. Well, in the same vein, we have another surprise for current or future purchases of this pack. The brand new Intelligence Uniform has been added to the pack for anyone that has already purchased it or is going to purchase it in the future. This uniform is available to all captains and bridge officers from any faction throughout the game. Intelligence officers dress for stealth and practicality, with high-tech fabrics designed to both conceal and protect the wearer. Your target will never see you coming unless you want them to. The Intelligence Uniform Pack includes an eye attachment, 2 jackets, a pair of gloves, a belt, trousers, and boots. In addition to the fantastic Intelligence uniforms, we're also adding 3 Delta Vanguard tech upgrades in the Operations Pack. Each of these upgrades will provide 110,000 technology points to any item you choose with $0 lithium cost to apply, which will help you get your favorite set well on its way to Mark 14. And again, all of this is simply added to value at no additional cost to anyone that's already purchased the pack. So there's the Klingon one, it's got a visor. There's the Romulan one, green, red, blue. And so there you go. And I like the idea that it's got high-tech fibers. You would think by the 25th century that we would be wearing smart-aware clothing. In fact, that our clothing might even be made out of nanites. I mean, that far in the future, you would think that would be the possibility. That would allow us to go invisible, or I'm thinking a lot here about like Crysis, for example. The game Crysis, the main character has this biosuit, right? And he can make it go into armor mode and protect against, being hit by weaponry. He can go into like a super strength mode and like Hulk smash things. Then you can go invisible with it. And I'm thinking, by the 25th century, wouldn't we have that kind of technology? Wouldn't the clothing be that aware that you could like have it harden if like bullets were going to hit you, or couldn't you have it, make you go stealth and turn invisible? Things like that. So maybe this is, partly way there with this, high-tech fibery stuff. I don't know what they mean about this, but I like the ability. I would like the ability to go invisible with it. I think that would be a very practical thing. Because it says here your target will never see you coming unless you want them to. Or maybe it just, scatters sensors and tricorders and stuff so that they don't detect your biosigns, for example. Stuff like that would be very useful. Anyway, it's going to be part of the pack. I'm sure it'll probably be purchasable separately as well. But that is coming. So some new uniforms there to do. And that is really it. That was all the news we had this week, so a lot shorter than the past couple of weeks, thank goodness. I know those were very long, and I do appreciate everyone who listened and watched those videos. Not as much news this week to go over, but we still have 11 more days, so there will be at least be another news update I will do next Friday, October the 10th. And then, of course, this whole thing releases October 14th, so if there's any new stuff that's going to be announced between October 10th and October 14th, I may just go ahead and wait till like October 13th or whatever and do another news update, and that way we can get all of it in at once. So that's what we got, everybody. Let me know what you think about what else has been announced here, what's been talked about today, and I appreciate everybody for watching and listening. All right.